was a Chris Rock thing. You ever catch your wife just looking at you?
I try to remind her sometimes that I can also, whenever I want, sort of just get into a car and not come back. I wrote a joke today. Do you want to hear it?
This joke was so... Five, four, three, two, one. Welcome back to
Buckle up, baby.
episode 23. We are rolling. I have bedhead and it won't go away. You know, it's really bad. You know you're at a bad age when everybody I see says, look like you just woke up all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I woke up hours ago.
I've been hearing a lot. You look tired. You look tired. I've been hearing that a lot.
And I'm like, I think I just look tired.
Right. This is my face now.
I am not tired.
Right.
It's just my face.
Right.
Although,
right. I'm also, they're like I work out pretty consistently, but it doesn't quite show.
I have been in the habit of mentioning casually that I have 4 kids to people when I'm particularly like, if I'm dressed up and out and I look my youngest version of myself, I drop that quick to reinforce. No, my God, you look so. I'm like, good.
Right.
It's a tactic.
You understand.
No, so that it, like for a guy with 4 kids, I look all right.
Right.
In general, I look tired.
Yeah. At the bris, someone came over to me and they're like, just so you know, you have like this like line going through your hair. So like if you're taking pictures, just like maybe do something in your hair.
Was that a fill-in line?
It was. Yeah. It was. I knew why I was there,
Classic.
but I was like, no one even bothered to tell me because I look like such garbage.
Yeah.
They're all just like, yeah, it's part of the thing. Like it's not gonna make or break him. Whatever.
Do you think I have this bit I'm working on for stand-up where 30s is where you encounter age for the first time? Like you're being inducted into older age in your 30s.
Yeah.
Because in your 20s, you're still like teenage adjacent out of that body and that world and that experience physically.
Right.
And you can sort of relate to that. Your pictures don't look that different, 18 to 27. But then 30, you start to see what your 50-year-old self's going to look like.
Yeah, by 30, you know if you're going bald or not.
All of those things.
Eventually.
So I have it. One part of the bit is it's kind of like puberty, but instead of things starting to get better, they start to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of growing hair in places, you start losing hair in places. Instead of getting stronger, you get weaker. Instead of women getting tits, men get tits.
It's good. It's good shit.
How do I structure that? Instead of women getting tits, men get tits. That's what happens in your 30s.
Yeah.
You start to get man boobs.
Well, it's more like when you're in puberty, you start to understand the kind of body you're gonna have. Like you're either gonna be strong, or you're not. Like you start understanding the kind of old body you have. Like I know I'm gonna have ear hair at some point. I don't have it yet, but I'm being told.
You're being told.
Get ready. Like there was a point where like every time I sat down for a haircut, the person went, "Do you want us to do something to your eyebrows?" It's like, why?
Yeah,
What's wrong with my eyebrows.
She just did it to my last haircut. She just did a little.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, hey, all right.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna have bushy, weird eyebrows at some point.
Yeah. You ever find like you see an old picture of your chest, and it's like much less hair? And I didn't even realize. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like a little bear.
Yeah, when I was 18.
Naked little chicken there. You see that. You start to see pictures.
Yeah.
Where like, you take for granted that you think you get this default look at like 22 and like, there you go. And then all of a sudden it keeps going. The aging process.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone thought I was younger than I was. Everyone thought than I was until like 26.
Oh, you started to get right.
And then the people started to guess, and it was scary. It was a scary moment.
Yeah. I don't know. I worry about the 30s is still the last decade where you're societally young by the perception of this. He's in his 30s. Like he's a young guy.
I think people in their 40s and 50s say that to themselves also.
That 30s is younger. 40s and 50s
I think people in their
younger.
50s, they go, we're still young.
Well, look, everything is younger now. That's true. Everything is younger.
Snoop
Look at the way
Dogg-
50-year-olds dress.
Snoop Dogg just said that also. Snoop Dogg just turned 50.
Right.
He's like, when I was 20, 50-year-olds used to walk around with canes.
Right.
He's like, it's cool to be 50 now.
Right. So it's true overall everything is younger, but I still think that like 30s is a weird place because we're now seniors of the younger class, but we're freshmen of the older class.
Right.
we're freshmen of old people, and we just graduated youngness.
Yeah, and then and you think that, and then you talk to a freshman of the young class, and they're like, "No, bro, you're old."
So I don't even mean seniors of the old, because they're not looking up. So like teenagers are looking at like 20s and up as like, they're older, but the 20s to us are babies, they're in the worst place ever because they've done nothing.
Did you know any?
I actually really like it because I think 30s is when you get like a little bit of experience and therefore credibility with whatever you're doing and pursuing. You can talk about things with some authority.
That's true.
And it's all relative because when you're in your 20s, you're the upper class to everyone younger than you, but then you're actually at the bottom of the barrel in the early 20s, knowing you're a freshman again. It's like graduating another grade.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, it's also weird to talk to someone in their 20s and you're like, you're expecting them to sort of just be out of college, and they're like, no, I'm actually like in-house counsel for this crypto startup. And you're like, oh, and you're 26? Okay.
I forgot your older 20s.
Yeah. Oh, even mid-20s, you could sort of like have like a really good career. Well, I was going to say, when I was a kid or a teenager, I didn't know a single person in their 30s. Did you know anyone in the 30s?
When I was a kid?
Like to understand.
When you say kid, what do you mean?
Like when you were 15, 16, did you know someone in their 30s? Like to sort of start envisioning like what that stage of life would be like?
No, because you only know the parents.
You know the parents
so
and their
you
friends.
know like late 40s, 50s people.
Right, unless you have like an older sibling for some reason. Like
no, you skip that because those people, think about how many teenagers do you interact with?
0.
Think about it in reverse.
Right. I mean, legally? 0.
Good. You have nothing to do with that sliver.
Exactly.
You skip over them. You know little kids because you have kids.
Well, I'm trying to. You don't have.
This is getting worse.
You don't have a nephew who's in their
yes,
in their teens.
I do.
Yes. So your nephew knows someone in the 30s.
But the thing is, my nephews that I know are actually mid-20s. I thought they were teenagers for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think they were once, and the whole time I thought I still think they're 15.
Right.
But that's my kind of answer. Like brief interaction with it. But otherwise, you really have nothing to do with them.
We should start a
Because
program.
23-year-olds might be working for 35-year-olds.
Right. We should start some sort of program that introduces teenagers to 30-year-olds, so you can learn from each other.
Did you see? What do we call it?
What would you call it?
The mentor molesters?
Middle-age connection? I don't know.
Middle-age connection. And you should have these profile pictures like,
it's a very like crypto, like autistic idea.
Middle-age connection? Yeah, because it sounds like single middle age, but also it has a pedophile
it would
ring.
go off the rails really quickly.
Yes.
It might be huge though.
Did you happen to see all right, let's go for it. I'll sit on that for a second. Middle-age connection. Did you happen to see Mr. Beast on Joe Rogan? Did you watch any of that?
I didn't watch any of it. No, that was during my real life period.
That was real life
period. I decided, by the way,
you're not going back.
I'm like, control Q on that. Like I'm not catching up on those 3 weeks.
I hear that. But I don't know if we spoke about it at all. But speaking of
we talked about that it happened, but we didn't talk about.
So a couple things on this front, like. He's 23.
So who's Mr. Beast for someone?
Mr. Beast is the most popular YouTuber on earth right now, I think.
How many followers does he have?
I think he has across his platforms 200 some odd million followers.
Jeez.
Like subscribers, followers, not views.
That's
followers.
Crazy.
And he makes these ridiculous videos that are so like high production and at such a big scale.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching this.
Like what? Is he the guy who will like set a Lamborghini on fire?
Yeah, or he'll bury himself alive, or he recreated Squid Game.
Yeah, I saw that. He really did it. It was really crazy.
He really did it.
Yeah.
He'll terraform an island, and his whole disposition is incredible. He's so humble, and so just like I just love making YouTube videos. It's just my favorite thing to do.
The business model is however much it costs, he'll make that much more in ads. With it, the crazier it is, the more he'll get back for it.
I'm really curious. How it financially breaks down, how he actually makes money. I don't know if he cares to make profit or it all goes right back into the business. He bought like 4 warehouses, $10 million studios, $10 million. One thing that was interesting was he got into YouTube by like just studying it for a year, 24/7, barely sleeping and just studying the algorithm and really studying YouTube like a craft. In the same way you hear that Bill Gates was obsessed with software. All I wanted to do was do software. I love software. The hyper obsession genius part of it is what he brings to the next generation entrepreneurship and creators. That focus he gave to YouTube, and he said so casually at one point in the interview, because I'm like making my way through it piece by piece, and he says,
"Are you studying it?" Like,
I find it fascinating. I mean, I don't know. There's not enough information in the podcast itself to explain the how. But he's saying, I mean, and the thing is with YouTube, anybody can do it. You can be making, and he's not saying it like a lofty guru. He's saying you could be making $100,000 a month on YouTube. Like, it's possible. That's what's really cool about it. That's why I love YouTube. Because Joe Rogan's like, have you ever thought about going independent from YouTube? He's like, no, that's just stupid. He says it to Joe. He's like, why would I want to nuke my audience? That's just stupid. And Joe goes, I guess so. I guess it is stupid. He's like, I mean, like, YouTube comes pre-installed on Android. You know, I want to make videos. I don't want to make an app and like compete with YouTube. YouTube's been amazing.
Right.
And I don't know what the financials are. Like, how do you just like, let's do it. It'll cost $10 million. Okay.
I think the financials are like, if we buy a Lamborghini for $300,000 and blow it up, that's 300. Let's say that's $350,000 on a video, but it's so insane that it's going to get 45 million views, and that's $1 million in revenue and ads, and then it pays for itself.
So it's the view, but it's the view count and the AdSense and all of these other things I'm kind of learning about that actually compensate you. I don't exactly, and then brands. Maybe a brand sponsors the video. Maybe they don't pay for the Lamborghini.
That's probably true too. But I mean, I would think the crazier and more expensive it is, the more views you can count on. So it's actually. It all works out.
Yeah, so he says, I know the video is going to do well, so I'm excited about it. And he's just really pure about it. He's like a kid. He's like a little kid. He wants to just make fun videos.
Yeah.
But the hustle, 23.
Oh, wow.
The hustle's insane. And his like intuition and intelligence is insane.
So he wasn't even that early on YouTube.
No, he started like 10 years ago.
Oh, no, that's a long time ago.
I mean, it's a long time ago, but that's not early to YouTube. YouTube's been around.
But it's not like he's 6. He's not like been doing it for 5 years.
No,
he's
10.
been doing it since he was a kid.
No, that's what you find out. You know,
since he was 13, he's been doing it.
Because 10 years ago was what year? 2012.
Yeah.
Late stage YouTube, and he was 13 years old.
2012 late stage YouTube already.
YouTube.
I feel like it's like mid stage.
Could be mid stage. YouTube started kicking off in 2000 and I want to say 5, 6.
Like but like the influencer economy.
There was no creator economy yet.
On
YouTube
then.
Started.
Sure, people had followers, but it wasn't like the economy that it is now.
But he began like his very first video as a 13-year-old when it was in mid stage as this stuff was kicking off.
Right.
So and then he spent years like with other creators, like they all lived together and just learned from each other's mistakes. And every day, all day would be on Skype calls studying. Everything from the thumbnail, so very technical, which was interesting. All the while, posting. You know what that's from? It's it's Will Ferrell in one of his improv bits that those videos you just watched 1,000 times. I could feel it down in my plums.
Yeah.
On my wife Beverly. All the while, my son Gabriel walks in. So,
let the boy watch.
Let the boy watch.
I think Chris Ryan says that that might be the best video on YouTube. The highlight.
Let the boy watch.
Was it the bloopers?
It's bloopers.
Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
take my plums to the market.
But ready for picking. It's something about it. You know, you're like,
so good.
It's so good that I would just search it sometimes if I just want to watch it. You know, you'll get that itch.
Yeah.
The point is, he was learning YouTube and learning how to make these videos. Fascinating stuff. And like Andrew Schultz was talking about on Flagrant too. Like, if this kid represents Gen Z, like if he's next generation, then we're good. Because they get such a bad rap for being just shallow and fame hungry and not really creative. And here is Mr. Beast, who's a beast.
Yeah,
it's just like a savant. Like I've never seen anything like it. But I was gonna say on the idea that he's young and starting out, what I found interesting was I also had this conversation this week with some fellow creators I've been following for a while who make great sketch stuff. And we were talking on like a TikTok live about their process. And I feel like we talk about this a little bit. We've hinted at like getting to that place of how do we convert. What's up?
I'm laughing at what I said to you when I was drunk last week.
We'll get to that. He called my son a little bitch. You know, it was a drunk line, but I was like, you wonder how you'll react? Did I defend my son? I kind of said, what makes you say that,
Your
Michael?
reenactment of me saying it, I found very funny.
We were sitting there, Michael was pissed drunk, he turns to me and he goes, yo, he's a little bitch. Like he was trying to start a fight with my 6-year-old who wasn't there.
And I don't remember saying
you
it.
don't. And then he did one of his like drunk giggles where he was so drunk that his head just went back.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, you just kind of like, you went back to a dream state. You know, you pass out mid-seat when you're so drunk, but not pass out, like you hear everything, but you like go to this special place. Yeah. Anyway, I was talking with these two creators about this process of how to convert what you're doing as a creative endeavor into a business. Monetization, making any money doing what you're doing. And one thing that I'm always reminded of when I bring up this question is, it seems like kind of a fluffy, lofty idea, but if you're doing something consistently that's working, the money is the inevitable result of that. But it comes when it comes. Because you're always, and I said to them, and I think a lot of creative people have this debate with themselves where they guilt themselves by saying, I feel like I'm creatively minded, but I'm so bad at the branding and the marketing and the business side of things. What more can I be doing? Yeah. Because if that's not happening yet and you're not getting paid yet, you can't help but think that you're not doing enough. You're doing something wrong. It's inadequate, or you're not giving enough attention to that. That could be true, but I think it's more along the lines of, as you build your audience, as you put stuff out there, you'll be rewarded for it. You just have to be patient.
So that's also an argument against the Web3 crypto thing of like, let's take away the middleman, because the reason the money just comes is because there's a really good middleman. So all you have to do is make incredible content, and YouTube takes care of the rest. If there was no YouTube, like, you'd control all your videos and no one could take you down. But are you going to go sell ads? Are you going to like figure out how to monetize that and how to charge for ads? Like, a lot of people don't want to do that.
Interesting.
Like Mr. Beast rather give up probably tens of $millions a year just to not have to think about any of that.
We spend a lot of time, or we have in previous episodes, being all excited about Web3, but it's a great point that you take for granted the business side of the creative industry that you're in and all the work that it does. Because a lot of people, like, they'll knock labels in the music industry, for example. Fuck the labels, I'm going to go independent. I'm like, okay, but you're also dismissing an entire infrastructure that has allowed music to reach millions of people. You want to do all that yourself?
Snoop Dogg on
by all means.
Snoop Dogg on the Breakfast Club, he just bought Def Jam, and he's he goes to these artists and they're like, why don't we just be independent? He's like, you can't bring yourself to Turkey and to India and to China. He's like, you don't know how to do that, but we do. So he's like, you could do very well for yourself in your city and in America maybe, but if you want to be global, you need to be with an infrastructure,
right? But
and you have to pay them for it.
What I will say is, before you get to Snoop Dogg's
that's what he said to me. That's what he said to me.
Before you get to that argument of that label or that institution or entity being able to help you, you do have the means now creatively to build the audience. So like Mr. Beast did it all himself, but he used that platform to do it. But he still did it all himself.
He created the content, but YouTube put his videos in front of. Let's
yes, they did. But it used to be that somebody would have to come to Mr. Beast before he made the content and say, I really think you got potential, kid. I'm gonna hire a camera crew and invest in you and then recoup that money. So what it has removed, what we're talking about, sort of Web 2 or whatever that space has allowed for, is the artist, the musician, the videographer, the producer to make all the content and distribute it via. They've taken on a purely distributive model where that's the service now. They don't service the making of the content. They service the distribution of it.
The distribution of it.
Spotify. I don't want to create my own Spotify.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And it's there, but I don't need a record label to invest for me to make the record. I can make the record myself.
Ben Thompson is a really good tech writer, and he talks about something called aggregation theory. And he says it's not really even distribution. What they've done is they've aggregated all the eyeballs into one place for you. So that's what they really do. That's Facebook's worth, and that's their value of, like, if you want something to be seen,
the attention
Facebook offers
centralized
you
attention.
That central place to go do it, and that's what YouTube does also.
Right.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting, and it's just like, there was a great debate of judging yourself and being patient. How do you deal with that? Because if you're going to judge yourself harshly, then you're going to try to do everything you can do. But what if? How much does patience play into that when you're waiting for things to grow? Maybe it's not something more you could be doing other than waiting. I don't want to say waiting because it's not passive. Because if you're putting stuff out there, and I've been told that countless times, dude. You're putting it out, you're doing it. You know, I've been gotten all that encouragement, and it's great. And I guess I believe that. because I'm starting to see things connect. Like I've been hired to do certain things, and opportunities are kind of coming my way out of nowhere, but they're not. It's as a result of the scale of output I've been.
But your feedback is our views and followers, and that's all trending in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's not just people saying I love your stuff. Like with my newsletter now.
Yeah, tell me.
It's been very fun, and I have people reaching out to me like almost every week saying, "Dude, I loved your story. That was great." Like I'm getting a lot of the kind of feedback I want.
Oh.
But and I've done enough stuff to know the difference between like no one has to do that. So like I'm taking it with more than just a grain of salt. But the subscriber numbers aren't growing, and like I'm pretty like explicitly like pushing that. So it's been 6 weeks. So like now I'm trying to think more of what I can be doing to pushing people to like share it, and to try other means of getting the stories out there, because like the numbers aren't going up the way I want them to.
I hear that, but what about me and my stuff? Because that's what we were talking. No, I will say.
No, it's the same thing.
Same hustle, but 6 weeks. Most content creators would be like 6 weeks is the very beginning.
But
year one is the very beginning.
But I'm talking about trends. So we're like for you, like everything's trending in the right direction. You're getting more followers every day. You're getting like
I didn't get any directional trend for a year and a half. If it makes sense, if it puts it in perspective for you. Like I opened my Instagram account and started putting stuff, creative bits out there in 2019.
I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about like if I got one new subscriber a week, that would be something.
I think you're looking for for any kind of frequency. And the only thing you should probably be worried about right now is just making the newsletter as good and consistent as possible for a while.
I don't think you can't do both at the same time.
That's the thing. That's what we are talking about. Is there a way to do both at the same time? And my understanding and my experience of it has always been stop thinking about the numbers and stop thinking about subscribers. Focus on the work right now.
Yeah.
Because it's so early, and like I've asked a bunch of people, they're like, "Yo, we've been doing them 6 years. I think we started doing it, and now we're finally starting to see that growth."
Yeah.
It just puts it into perspective. Oh, 6 years. You're at 6 weeks. It's the beginning where you're building like a foundation, and it's almost like when you're building a building that's going to be stable and sustainable and be resilient. There's all this stuff happening when you're building the foundation, and people drive by every day. They're like, doesn't look like anything's happening with this building. I'm just seeing dirt. Every day I just see dirt.
I'm taking the other approach that not to focus any less on the content, but there's something missing from the product itself. That,
you think
like,
so? Because you're getting feedback. The people who do get it are reacting.
But
that's good.
But I think 5 years from now, I just mean like the copy I'm using around sharing, like where the buttons are and all that. I think 5 years from now, that stuff still isn't going to work, no matter how good the stories are. I think what it is saying like the little attempts you're making at sharing are not the right attempt.
Right. I think that those skills just come with the other thing. So the more you just do it daily, you'll get better naturally at where to share it. I mean, you'll get smoother at how
you have to try.
I don't read your newsletters. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not even on the list.
Because you didn't sign up.
See, I have to proactively sign up.
Yeah.
All right. So
it doesn't just come preloaded on your phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the thing. Unless I guess you have a friend put your email.
What I mean is like when I started using TikTok, my goal was to make content. I was just saying, let's just make a video every day. But in making a video every day, all these other external skills started to happen. Editing faster, smoother, what looks good, what doesn't look. All the information you'll learn as you do it consistently will come.
But I did email marketing professionally for a few years, so like I'm not starting at zero. Like I know the.
So that's
what
I'm not saying
to
not apply what you. Yeah, I get it. Apply what you know.
I'm just trying to compliment you that you have a lot of great things going on. So there's nothing to worry about, because like you're doing well.
Episode 23.
I think the money will come in your case.
Right.
Like in my case, I wouldn't necessarily look at what I'm doing and say, "Don't worry, the money will come."
Is it good? You think the stuff is good?
I do think the stuff is good.
I think in the end, it's like quality. What's the phrase? You just have to become undeniable. You know when you see these successful entertainers or showbiz people, they always make it sound so simple, and you want to say that they're bullshitting. Just be as great as you can be. And you're like, that's not helpful. I think I'm great, but apparently it's not working.
Yeah.
And there's so much more technical information missing from a statement like that. But I think if you're taking that at face value for like its best intended intent, that be the best you can be. It's sort of like you have to make sure that you're constantly working on whatever craft it is you're putting out, and that's the product. That's the most important thing. Because what a lot of people overlook is, I want all these followers, but like, what am I making? They don't care. They just want the followers. They want the end results, the growth, the attention without the foundation, and then everything just crumbles because you haven't done anything of value, really.
Right. Like my cosmetic tutorials went like nowhere. My makeup tutorials, like, people just didn't want that from me.
Yeah, but it's also like what started to change for me on social media was when I started to actually use it as a tool to feature entertaining stuff and not either promotional stuff. I was like, oh, you have to actually make good things here. I didn't realize that. I really didn't. I thought they were just like commercials. Like, hey, come check out all my good stuff over here. And that was challenging musically because you make all these records and you make all this other stuff and you put on these shows. And social media was just, I was trying to just get people to use social media to come to where things are good. But in social media, I made a video about this on my TikTok, which was like, you have to treat social media like it's the show, not the commercial.
Right. I thought about that this week because I was tweeting out, here's my latest story from the newsletter. And I was like, that's just promotional. That's like, I was like, how do I make this tweet the story?
Yeah.
So I'm working on something now. I'm going to try a couple of things, but I thought about that this week.
Maybe take your most scintillating excerpt of the story and just tweet that and have people go, what is that about?
But still, that's still like.
And he placed his penis inside of the
I wanted to go from here. I was like, how do I make the story a tweet? So like I'm making a video, so with like cool captions. I think that's one way to make it a tweet.
Yeah,
it's like a video at least. So that's like a step in the right direction.
Right.
I don't think it's gonna work, but I want to try it.
Short stories, right?
It's like a 45-second read. Yeah, and 2 recommendations. But that's
you could
not,
do
that's
Instagram with visualizers. You know, like words and a visualizer, as in like a waveform talking.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to Instagram to read something. I think the video has to be so kick-ass that just watching the video, basically with the sound off, is like worthwhile. Like that I think that's the only way to make a story work on Instagram. No one's reading. They're just not.
What if you
doing
put it into the audio of like a video, of like, you know, those like, I don't know, stock footage, and like it's your audio. I don't know what your story is about.
Yeah, it's like a weird narrator telling about an episode from their life. That's like kind of like offbeat. I mean, it would be something like if I could take like a dog and make their mouth move and do it like that. Like that's the type of thing I'm talking about, where like the video itself is worthwhile. It's like, it's interesting.
I just mean because really Instagram is visual,
right? So, right,
you would get either a visualizer or a GIF or something that would just move while text is being displayed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the lowest bar you could set for yourself of like, let's make the story, but it's moving. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's gonna like move the needle.
We'd have to be more creative with it.
Be more creative. So I'm trying to think of ideas
or abstract visualizers that give you the same feeling.
I don't think people want to sit and look at a visualizer either. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Visualizer. What about those like
visualizer?
I have a good one for you.
Yeah.
I just thought of it. This is serious. There's a great TikTok account that stumbled upon my For You page, and it's purely a waste of time. But it's called Stories of Reddit. Okay. This is what you should do. This is how I've seen it, the written form as entertaining. So it's this robot voice reading people's stories. And the questions are always so like intriguing. It's like it's sort of like 90s kids. What's the craziest thing you ever saw a teacher do in class? And then he reads, and then they read users. User 9 point. It says, when I was a sophomore year, my teacher came in and clearly was having a bad day. He went outside and began to smoke a cigarette. One of the other students threw a rock at him. He came in and did a spinning back kick on the other kid and threw him across the room. Instant respect. Or what's the most fucked up family secret that you know that no one knows you know? So they're always like, when I was 5 years old, my sister accidentally killed the neighbor. We buried her in our backyard and told no one. I still think about it to this day. Whenever I ask my father, he pretends she never existed. You know, and you're just like, you can't stop watching. So it has like atmospheric music underneath that supports the vibe of the story, and it's this robot voice reading it to you.
That would be something. Yeah.
And it's so addicting, and it's sort of like name your biggest kick-ass moment that was unintended. Haha. I was at a casino with this girl I had a crush on. I said, hey, watch this. As she turned, I looked. I went to the slot machine and I said, check it out. I hit it. It hit a jackpot right off the bat. I pretend like it was nothing and it happens all the time. I still think about it as my most boss moment till this day.
Yeah.
Nothing happened, but
yeah.
you know. So it's good stories read by this robot voice and it's like
that's my favorite thing on TikTok, when they take something that would otherwise be so completely useless and boring, but they deliver it in such a way, like there'll be a video of like a rock rolling down the hill, like literally that's all it is, but the caption is like how I feel on Monday or whatever, and you're just like genius. They like you infused meaning into it, and like I love that.
TikTok infuses meaning into everything, or like a face like ugh. You know, my hangovers on midweek hangovers be like
exactly. So
you should check this is all the inspo you need. Reddit, stories of Reddit. It is what it also is it's deep dark internet stuff that you'd find back in the 90s on a Saturday night. It'd be like, I found this crazy stories, and they're giving it to you on a silver platter.
So maybe the real question is, how do I make my story not be a short story, but like if my story was a comment on a Reddit question, it would be a lot more interesting than just Michael wrote a short story. Like, how do I frame it in a way?
Don't get trapped in your own label and write whatever you think might bait people into the longer stuff.
No, it's not even about writing it. It's about how I take what's already written but reframe it. That's what I mean.
Can you like sum up your story into a shorter story?
No, that's not even what I'm talking about. Something like the TikTok version would be like, it's the story, but the video is like, you go through a house and you take a box and you open it, and inside the box is like the written story. Like that's like the worst version of it. But I mean, like, it's the same story. The challenge is presenting it in a way that doesn't feel like a short story. It's something other than.
You'd have to check out this account, use your own creative sensibility, because it's a little too removed for me to know exactly what to do in that case.
No, and it would be hard for you to go online and just read one. Because you got you got the kids and like all that. So like I don't expect you to do that to be able to contribute to this conversation.
To read it. No, but I'm just saying your idea. I don't know how to translate your long story into a short story. That's up to you.
No. It is a short story.
Yes.
It takes 45 seconds to read.
So that's it.
Literally.
Here's your whole video.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's not, for me to sit there and read it, is not the thing people want to see on TikTok. You have to
get the robot voice to read it.
Yeah. So that's one idea. Yeah, but even instead of me saying I'm reading my story, I would be like, check out this thing I found in my father's closet or something. Then all of a sudden it's a different like thing. You know what I mean? Or like
you need a hook.
A hook for why you should be listening right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a hook. So derive the hook from the story.
It doesn't even necessarily have to come from the story,
or
but
whatever.
I hear what you're saying.
The hook, like those first 2 seconds to give somebody something. What I see on TikTok all the time on these storyteller TikToks are all like, you will not believe how this ends, or they'll always say like, make sure you watch the end because that's you don't like that.
That's not even what I'm saying.
I know.
I gotta find an example. I know.
But anyway, more on that later. That's a good strategy. But I'm just saying that's like the written word in TikTok visual format is this narrator, and you should check that out. Anyway.
Is that our first fight?
Fight? Was it a fight? If it was.
I say that to Sarah all the time whenever like she slightly raises her voice.
Is that our first fight? I don't have to say that to my wife because we know it's not. That's just you being weird. She'd be like, it gives you an instant eye roll.
Sarah? No, she laughs. She laughs at the stories.
And you guys get along. It's really disturbing. Like you said, I one of this past week when you went up to her, you were like, "You look nice." You said something like, "You look nice." Who says that to their wife? So weird.
I'm sorry. You guys have been married a lot longer than us, and you have 4 kids.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah, my wife will look at me and just go, "Ugh."
Yeah. I also tell her whenever.
But she's with me, so it's like an ultimate compliment. Like, look what I put up with. Look what, in spite of, I'm still here.
I try to remind her sometimes that I can also, whenever I want, sort of just get into a car and not come back. You know, I was like, if you want, I could just leave and not come back.
I say things like, I say morbid. I'm like, I probably will die first, and you're gonna miss me.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be a hard time for you.
It reframes it.
Because men live shorter lives. Yeah. You'll miss all this. You'll miss how annoying this is.
Yeah.
Sometimes at night, she lays down next to me, and the first words I get in, and it's like, "You're bothering me."
Wait, Wait, you say that to her?
No, she says to me.
The way you're breathing?
Like, I make a note. I go, she goes,
I totally hear what she's saying.
You're bothering me.
I totally hear what she's saying.
About me?
About
the presence
not you
of,
specifically, but I could hear the way
that
you're breathing,
happens.
or like the noise you're making. Yeah.
Yeah. Wife stuff. It's very funny.
Yeah.
That was a Chris Rock thing. You ever catch your wife just looking at you? Just like, because you weren't her first choice. That's what that look means. Looking at you.
Patrice has good stuff about that.
Patrice.
Too.
We want to be alone, but we don't want to be by ourselves. It's a great bit. I saw a Gaffigan bit where he was like, it was like, my wife gets mad at me. Where did you go? I was in the bathroom. And then when I go to, no, it's like, you didn't tell me. And then when I tell her I'm going to the bathroom, she goes, you're going again? Jim Gaffigan. Was at a comedy show last night for a friend of mine, a fellow comedian impressionist. Yeah. At Caroline's. He headlined at Caroline's. Yeah. Crushed it.
Can I say one thing about Jim Gaffigan?
Sure.
Before we go, he put up a picture. He's a religious fella.
Yeah.
He put up, I follow him on Instagram. He put up a picture of his, should I even get into this?
Yes.
He put up a picture of his teenage daughter in like a very, did you see this? Of like a very revealing like bikini or something. Mm-hmm. Which like if she put that up herself, I'd be like, yeah, that's what teenagers do. Right. But he put it up of her.
Did you save the photo?
I didn't save the photo. But I was thinking like, as a religious guy, I wonder why he put that up. But also, do you think just because it's his daughter, it's so far removed from him from thinking it's like inappropriate? That like I wonder like at what point you start looking at your kids and you're like, I can't put that picture up because she's like.
So what's weirder? If she's like, that's weirder.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Also, to be like,
I didn't even think about it. That would be so weird if I thought about it.
Right. To be like, yeah, I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can't.
It's less creepy that he did it,
but I can't put it up
because the reasons not to put it up make you a creep.
Right.
Yeah, I remember being on this shoot once for a commercial. And this guy who was like a young 50s looking guy, like Silver Fox looking guy, was talking about his teenage daughter. Uh-huh. And he was like, yeah, my daughter, man, she's like 15. She's got all her friends over now. They don't even cover the asses anymore these days. You know, it's all asses on my pool right on the front. And I was like, cool. You know, they just have the asses all out these days. He's talking about a bunch of 15-year-olds and his daughter's friends. I'm like, you're not talking about your daughter, right? Just like her friends. That's not much better, but it's not.
I bet Louis C.K. can make it funny because it's a real thought.
That's my Louis face.
I'm just Louis.
It's a real thought, yes.
But you have to present it in a pretty brilliant way. Yeah. So you went to Caroline's.
So I went to Caroline's with my date who was 15. No. Oh, God. And what was I going to... No, it was just great. I was just saying
Whose show was it?
Matt Friend. His name is Matthew Friend. Uh-huh. Chicago guy, moved to New York. We've done a few things online, like some video. We did a video together.
TikTok friend?
TikToker, fellow comedian, great impressionist. You would have... I mean, you know, you like a good impression.
Yeah, I wanted to come, yeah. Who does he do?
He does everybody. Yeah. He does Trump. He does
Trump?
But he does a good Trump. I'll tell you what, folks. He does like everyone's Trump is different. You know, there's so many different kinds of Trumps.
I like the weird ones.
So his is really spot on. Like his impressions are uncanny accurate in every way. They're not like the Tim Dillon-esque where they're like way out there, which I know are your favorites. You would appreciate it though. You appreciate a good impression. But he did a good job. And it's just funny for me as I've committed to like getting more in touch with the comedy scene. Remember, we've spoken on the very first episode. I'm like, I'm beginning my journey into New York City's comedy scene as I've arrived here back on the East Coast. Yeah. I like find myself there, and it reaffirms like writing stuff down in front of you and getting yourself into that headspace and how to actually make things happen, to the point where things started happening where I was reached. I think about it a lot because I did spend a lot of time, and I feel like everybody has, in that space where you want things to be happening and they're not. Mm-hmm. And it's a very frustrating place to be. I spent like my whole college years feeling like I wasn't killing there and getting everything out of it that I should have. And then before, like when you're in that figuring out phase and you're just like, I want to be doing this and I want to be doing this, but I'm not doing any of that. Mm-hmm. Why? And it's easy for people to say, well, you just gotta, you know. And I came across a Simon Sinek video of all things. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if the advice is still generic, or it's less generic because maybe I've finally listened and like taken some of that stuff into account.
It's a big part of it.
And then it becomes real. But one of the things he said, this was interesting, was it doesn't matter if you have a huge goal or a macro goal. The important thing is not to accomplish a master goal. It's just to start the process. It's not to finish the process. It's not to begin. He said it better, but his thing is, you don't have to take on some huge undertaking. You just have to start.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a big thing if it continues. But you have to start. And everyone forgets starting. So they think about, I want to be there and I want to be there and I want to be there. You don't have to be there.
Yeah.
You don't have to be there. You just have to start.
That's my dream. If I ever have any amount of success that I could like leverage into like, here's my resume and here's why you should listen to me. I want to write a book about how to start things. I think I'm pretty good at starting things actually. Seeing them through successfully is a whole different thing.
Right.
But like he's saying, like just starting, there's a method to that. But how does that apply to what you were doing? Like you're saying you just started comedy?
I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just laying the facts out.
Yeah.
Nothing, as you were saying, things on social media are growing steadily, which is nice. More followers and more things are happening and more attention. I'm booked next week to do 2 sets at a real comedy club in front of an audience, doing 5 minutes on each one. But it wasn't a clear line of, I want to book that. So I just like booked it. I have to trace back all the steps that took to get to that point. And it's not a massive accomplishment. I'm just kind of acknowledging the small little like stepping stones along the way because I'm trying to be conscious of it and we're documenting it through the podcast. So if you think about it, so I'm doing an opening on, I'm doing a set for Elon Gold's show. He's doing an hour, I think it's an hour at Stand Up New York next week.
Yeah.
The Tuesday and Wednesday, the 8th and 29th, I believe, or 29th and 30th. I should know that by heart at this point. See, we're not good at promo. Creatives. The point is, if I trace it all the way back, I'm like, for people who want to know, like, I remember I'd see a comic or something. So how did you get booked here? Like, I'm curious. So I'm asking myself that question, right? And I was putting out all these videos. And I think Elon started I've known Elon for a long time, but he started really liking a lot of the Gary Vee bits. And then eventually I went on his live stream show, and on the live stream, and this was all over a course of a long period of time, started doing bits and impressions on his show. We had a good time. Then we stayed in touch, and I'm like, in the happenstance of him coming to New York, and that he's booked these shows, and I'm doing 5 minutes on each show. So I have to trace that all back, but I'm just happy with the fact that, I don't know. I have to be patient with it, but I'm happy with the fact that as I participate and engage with the comedy scene, I'm seeing more it come back to me. Yeah. It engaged back with me.
Yeah.
And like we label ourselves different things, and for a while I had that imposter syndrome. I'm a musician, I'm not a comic. What am I talking about? Like I made a few funny videos, I'm going to try it. What am I, a comedian now? Are you kidding? But now I'm a lot less uncomfortable saying that. I can say it with a little more as I start to participate more in this and actually do it. It feels good. And also, I was going to add that when I go out now, I didn't tell you this before the podcast, but like someone came up to me online as I'm waiting to get online, and I was like, say, how do you know Matt? Such and such. Yeah, he's like, yeah, he's great impression. He's like, yeah, well, I love your Jordan Peterson.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like, what's your name? Why, thank you. And he bought me some drinks, and I sat down, and I'm like, And I told you another.
He bought you some drinks.
Two Diet Cokes. I'm lame tard. But
he asked you if he could get you something, and you said 2 Diet Cokes.
No, I got the drinks.
Yeah. Oh, there's the
and then the bill came, and he said I got it.
That's cool.
That was nice.
That's really nice.
I think I paid for the coat check though. It's not that cool.
That's basically Patreon.
Please support us with Diet Cokes. We don't want any money. And then I told you a couple weeks ago, I was at a comedy show 2 weeks ago or so, and 5 people stopped me who recognized what I was up to. And then another kid was like looking at me in a bodega, and he had headphones on, like an NYU kid. And he goes, I'm like, hey. He's like, just want to say, man, I'm a really big fan of your TikToks. And I was like, why, thank you. So it's so funny because like if I got green light on a television show or some network thing, I'd kind of know, okay, stuff is getting out there. And it wouldn't surprise me if maybe somebody watched it and it was on some, but TikTok makes you kind of, it makes your fan base sort of invisible to you.
Yeah.
You don't know where they are.
Right.
So that's sort of where I'm at right now. It's confusing. Remember, I called you afterwards. I'm like, Michael, I got stopped like 5 times when I was out. This is strange.
Yeah. That's a real cool indication that something's happening.
Yeah.
Are you disgusted by these people when you meet them in person?
100%.
Yeah. Are they good people?
They're all great. All great. I'm flattered. It's very, very kind.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's like,
Did he just have like a Confederate flag wrapped around him?
Why would I attract that?
I don't know.
He did. This was an NYU kid. I'm a big fan of your TikTok. Anyway, you talk. I went on. But anyway, that's
great. I think that's
it was
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
It was cool, and it's more that like I sat there at a friend show who like sold out this room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so one day, like, you know, I'm thinking to myself, like, one day I'll get to this point. But then I'm thinking to myself, can I sell out this room? Like now, if I wanted to?
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because social media makes it very confusing.
Yeah. You should try it out at a small. Say you're going to an open mic.
Yeah, just put it out there and
yeah.
see what happens. I guess it's time to do that now. But I have to work out enough stuff to put in front of people.
The first time I realized YouTube was a thing was I was walking the city and there were like literally 4 square blocks blocked off by the police, filled with like 13-year-olds. And I was like, what is going on here? I've never seen anything like this in my life. And someone's like, yeah, Mr. Beast is here. I don't remember. I'd never.
How long ago was
it? It wasn't Mr. Beast. It was some name I'd never heard of. And
I remember you
like,
told me this at the time.
I'm like, who is that? And they're like, he's on YouTube, dude. And I'm like, oh my God. Like
I feel like it was like a Logan Paul or Casey Neistat.
Yeah, something like that. Like you could have 100 million fans that like show up. It's
and
like,
no
it's
one
nuts.
outside of them know you.
Exactly. Like he's not famous, but like.
But he's famous to exactly that many people.
20,000 people showed up to see this guy.
That to me is the most exciting part of the creator economy, is that you can literally have your niche and your people and no one else. You don't have to go beyond that. Like you can be sustained and supported by people who really love you.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
It's cool. One thing I just want to say, maybe we'll end on this, is the thing you said about Simon Sinek, how like you actually listen this time. I do find that like a lot of, as like I try more in earnest, a lot of the same lessons I've heard 1,000 times, I'm just actually like trying to listen to and to do. Like, for example, I think like the way we grew up, like, or the schools we went to, like the trick is to like, how do you get to the end point without doing all the work? Like, how can you do as little work as possible? So like I'm doing this, I'm following George Saunders. He's like a really prolific short story writer. He has a Substack, and he'll present a story, like a famous story, and then sort of walk you through why it works. It's like, it's really, really awesome if you're a writer. So I'm reading it, and like he's giving you exercises. He's like, read it, then take a minute, then read it again, and then write down like what you thought of it. So I read that, and I'm like, okay, read it. I read it once, read it again. I don't have to do that. Write it down, whatever I got in my head, and then like I'll get to the good stuff. His like thing, but I'm like, why don't I just do what he's saying to do? Like, why am I trying to like watch the Simon Sinek video, know it, and then move on? Like do the thing, you know, and like really try to absorb it. Yeah, no, but really, I mean, you're saying so simple, but
why? What does that have to do with our upbringing?
Because it would be like,
it's a good point. It's not just us; it's everybody.
Yeah, it would be like,
how do we get to the end?
I mean, it's the thing of like, there's a test on Friday. Try to find a girl in your class who took notes, like learn all the bullet points, and like learn exactly what you need to know for the test. Do well on the test and like move on. The information is the least important part of the whole thing. Like learning is the least important part of the whole thing.
I see.
And like those who were successful in the type of school
hackery.
we went to, hackery. Those were the best ones.
Good point.
Like learning the math. It wasn't about learning why math works. It was like learning the steps you take to get to the answer.
Yeah.
And the fewer steps you can take, the more celebrated you are.
Right.
It's not about understanding why algebra works. And then you get out and you're like in the world and you're like, what do I do now? You know?
It's a very good point. And it's also like I have this image in my mind of the mountaintop, figuratively speaking, and somebody keeps asking a guy who's climbed it, like, how do you get to the top? And he just points to one place and he goes, oh, it's right there. And it's this treacherous squiggly line in my eye. Where do you go? It's this squiggly, treacherous line that's unpredictable, sharp twists and turns. He goes, okay, that's all well and good, but how do I get there? And he just keeps pointing right there. That's what I did. That's what you do. And it's it's unpredictable and it keeps changing and it keeps going in different directions, but you have to go that way. And everyone else just keeps asking the same question, expecting a different answer.
Right.
And I think what you're saying is you're looking for the hack, for the shortcut, for the thing. How do you do it? And what you find most of the time is there isn't one. There is just... Now, my issue was always put in the work. I'm willing to put in the work. What's the work?
Right.
That I always needed to know for a long time. It's not like I'm not being lazy. I'm not trying to look for a shortcut, but just tell me what the work is.
Yeah.
And then it was sort of revealed to me by doing content and realizing, okay, that's what that is. And I think a lot of that is what's missing from the conversation. It's the advice givers saying, put in the work. What's the work?
Right.
Where do we meet, Gary?
Yeah.
It's that idea.
Yeah.
Of course it takes work.
Right.
And I don't think people are lazy. And some people are just saying, I want to get to 10,000 followers in a month. Like, how do I do that? Like, no, that's all backwards. But what is the work? That's hard.
Put another way, Gary Vee probably just needs to make 5 videos that everyone can watch. But instead he makes a video every single day because there are people who are like, I don't want to actually do the thing I learned in those 5 videos. I just want to watch you make videos every day.
He says that all the time. I've been saying the same shit for 15 years.
Yeah.
Same shit over and over again. There's no secret. There's no sauce. There's no magic trick.
Yeah.
And even he says going viral is not magic either. It happens and you move on. You know? It pops off, feels good for a day, and you keep going. Yeah. So the question is really the conversation should be centered around not do I put in the work or do I not, but what is the work? And that's a technical question. So in your case, it's read that story, break it down, do it again every day. Write every single day. For comedy stuff, I've been writing a joke a day. And even if it's bad, and even if it's nothing, even if it's barely a premise, I force myself to take out a notepad, slightly different process than typing on a phone, even though I do that if I have to, and I'll just write down because I listened to Seinfeld's podcast with Tim Ferriss, which you loved and you were very moved by.
I did like it.
I thought you said you hated it.
I don't like him, but I like.
And it was, but he talked about his process, and I'm like, okay. And I remember this at the Berklee College of Music. This teacher got up there and said, "I'm not teaching you guys shit. I hate this job." Like that was his MO. He hated it. He goes, "You want to be great? Copy the great players. It's all there. You just don't want to do it." Like he was one of these really cynical guys. I think he passed away recently. He was like, when I die, I'm going to drive off a cliff. I'm going to control it myself. He was very dark. Yeah. And he sort of hated the school and the institution. But he's like, copy the great players. Learn the Miles Davis record. You want to be great? Do it. It's right there. And then just pause, silence. And I'm like, yeah, but you're also a paid educator here, dude. So maybe you want to do something. His point, though, is profound and true. Yeah. It's all there. So the work is... Oh, okay. So I sat down and I wrote a joke, and as I listened to Seinfeld's episode where he like has a time slot during the day purely dedicated to just development and writing till noon. He takes no calls, nothing, almost nothing. He may be emergencies, but he goes into his zone. And you're right. So I was like, I'll write a joke a day because I need more material. I need to work this stuff out and test stuff out on stage. I want to try to write a joke a day and work that creative muscle, the joke writing muscle. Where does he work out his jokes? Does he just show up to stand up? I think he shows up and stuff. I really don't know. But he's the kind of guy also who has an act that will last him years, and he'll do it everywhere. He comes from that old school comedy thing where you need one act that can last, maybe add to it over time, and you want to make it more topical. He's not one of these Louis C.K. who writes an hour every year and throws out the other hour. We still have to watch that hour. I know. For sure. Yeah. Anyway, the point is like he does this, and either I cannot do that or I can do that, or at least try to emulate it to the best of my ability. And then he also says something in that, because I'm like, what the hell is stand-up? Like, how does this work? And he says the secret really to good stand-up first and foremost is good writing. And when he put it in those terms in that podcast, I committed myself to writing a joke a day because you watch these stand-ups and it looks like they're just shooting the shit. But there's real stuff happening there and real moves and real punches and all that. And of course you know that, but when it's spelled out for you. Yeah. I wrote a joke today. Can I hear it? We should close on Michael's joke. Hear it? Of course. We should have a segment of the podcast where we test out bits on each other. Oh, well, it's not going to make so much sense for you because I'm just thinking now. Okay. You want to hear it's not going to land for you because I know it's not going to land for you. Go. So, disclaimer, and then I'll close with one of mine because I'll get my book. It really tickles me. Yeah. It's not going to work for you literally because you don't have the same kind of coffee maker I have. But the joke was, well, you're a good be a comedian. What I love about Keurig coffee makers is when it says add water, it's not a suggestion. You don't have like 3 cups left until you need to add more water. It's like you have to add water right now. And it's the only thing in my life that I don't really put off. Like when it says add water, I take the thing out, I fill it up with water, and I put it back in. Like it yells at you? It's a demand? It won't work unless you add water.
Everything else, like with the gaslight, with like batteries on low, like everything else is like, eventually you're gonna have to do something about this. With Keurig, it's like, no, right now, add water. And then
is there more to it? I think I do get it.
And then I brought it to a dark place.
Let's flesh this out a little more. There's something there, and there's something that's revealing of your personality.
I also think it's funny to then like the tag be like, the obvious tag is like, like I never charge my phone until it's already dead. But to bring it to like something very profound that like needs to be done immediately, but you put it off, like someone's death.
And dealing with funeral
arrangements?
When
my mother died, I didn't call the police for a day. Something like that.
Okay, I've bombed in front of you.
I have to try it in front of an audience. But no, but you don't have a Keurig with... This joke only works in audiences of people with a Keurig of a certain caliber.
I'm not there, but you were right. You called it.
Should I be the Keurig guy? Maybe that's like I'm the Keurig comic.
Oh, this is the one about reverse puberty that we did earlier. I want to find one to close on. Michael did one, and now I can bomb in front of you because we're feeling vulnerable.
Put it in the comments if you liked it. Let me know.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I said that about 30s. Wow, I did a bunch of jokes in this episode, I guess. Okay. Oh no, none of these are worked out. It's just scribble and nonsense in my mind. But let's see.
You gotta do one now.
Okay, fine.
Do one about something I can't relate to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I took my kids to Legoland recently. And when I was a kid, I loved theme parks. But now, as parents with kids, no. It's awful. And it sucks when you are planning, I'm trying to read my scribble. It sucks when you're planning to go to a theme park. Because this is what you think. It's going to be like, wee, yay, I love theme parks just like when you were a kid. It's amazing. But in reality, I can't do this joke.
You have to do it.
But in reality, so you think it's going to be fun. Wee, yay. But in reality, this is what a theme park is. This joke was so, it made I'm bombing in front of an audience of one, just like you did.
Yeah.
I just read on the bottom what this says, act out. I picked the wrong joke. I'm sitting down.
This is the work.
Yeah, so it's you have to act out what you're doing. This is why stand-up is so hard. Act out what you're doing, and it says here in parentheses, standing. Oh, fuck. My backpack, confusion, frustration, and trying to eat. Oh, God.
Hey, you gave it a shot.
Corporate friends like COVID.
No.
When your spouse gets sick.
You get one. You get one. Yeah. This is a good segment.
Really good.
I like this segment.
Anyway, that one's called Theme Parks as a Parent.
I'm going to come up with something more relatable having to do with Keurig.
The Daily Bomb. We're going to call it the Daily Bomb.
The Weekly Bomb.
The Weekly Bomb.
All right,
on the Buckle Up Podcast. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you guys for being here. I'm Ami Kozak, comedian.
23.
Michael, a comedian extraordinaire, episode 23, The Weekly Bomb.